Good afternoon, Kroc Nation. How y'all doing today? I hope everyone's doing well, everybody's safe. I'm your host, Daryl Wren, and we want to welcome you to another edition of Kroc Sports Talk. Also joined by my host, Ms. Jackie Foster, Mr. Darius Jackson, and of course, Mr. Jason Dawson. We have a lot to discuss today, y'all. There's so much going on, not only around the country, obviously, with the fallout and the aftermath of the George Floyd murder and how it relates to sports. We have some NBA news we want to talk about. And we're going to kick off the show. We're going to give you the results of last week's poll question, which was, should college sports compete if students are not allowed on campus due to the pandemic and what have you? I think our numbers came in. Correct me if I'm right, y'all. There were 16 votes that said that college sports should compete even without students, without fans, and 8 saying no, that they should not compete without students on campus. Jackie, what do you think about last week's poll results and the question in general?
I was surprised that so many people voted in favor of it, seeing that they won't be in class like we had talked about earlier. But then you have to know that they are on scholarships as well, and how would that play in their decision as well?
Okay, all right. Darius, what about you?
I was surprised as well. Like Jackie said, I can imagine having people play sports and no school's going on. I mean, some type of school would have to go in order for them to be able to play. I don't know if it's online school, what the case may be. I know the big universities too will probably be able to handle it better than maybe the smaller ones. So they'll probably have to try to figure out that scale is what schools will be able to actually handle, be able to have sports as far as testing and being able to test as many people as you can. I don't believe it's a whole scale of every school will be able to do that. So I think that'd be very hard to see. But I just think people need to be a little bit more informed.
Well, I can tell you, I was shocked. I thought, if anything, the numbers might be the other way around, particularly when you're talking about college football and college basketball. I think that's one sport, that's one area when we're talking about college football, college basketball, where the fan experience really makes a huge difference as far as, what you're viewing, as far as the viewing public is concerned. I can't see Ohio State playing in the old horseshoe with no fans. I can't see the Michigan Wolverines, playing without fans. I can't see USC playing without fans, particularly when we're talking about football. I can't see Duke playing, not playing in Cameron Arena without any fans. It just defies logic to me, but unfortunately, that's the world that we're living in right now, folks. And, I think we're all, for the most part, I think people around the country have done the best they can. It looks like the country is, slowly coming back to normal. And, hopefully, the coronavirus is still out there. So let's still, everybody, be smart and be safe. But those were the poll results. So we'll have our poll question for next week coming up at the end of the show. But we're going to start the show off actually with a little NBA action. The NBA is back, y'all, or will soon be back. It looks like there's going to be a 22-team format. The season is going to pick up apparently where it left off, I believe, starting July 31st. And everything's going to be played at Disney World in Orlando. That's where the teams are going to be, sequestered along with, minimal amount of staff and what have you. So, Darius, NBA action is fantastic, baby. What do you think, man?
It's finally back. We got our NBA back, right? I can't wait to see what the actual tournament will look like. See, we'll start off with 8 regular season games. See what even they'll look like as far as them players being off, 3-4 months now? What players are in shape, what players aren't in shape, who actually take their job serious, who thought they maybe was coming back and who wasn't coming back. So, I think it's a little bit more further than just basketball. To see some type of normalcy and have the NBA back, I'm very excited.
Okay.
I don't know who's going to win this little tournament or how it's going to play out, but I'm excited to see some type of basketball.
All right. Jackie, what about you?
I'm also excited. We've been out for so long, going without seeing so many sports. So I'm just looking forward to see competitive basketball. I know a lot of the players have been working out. I've been following a lot of their stories on Instagram. So I hope that they're coming back ready. Just excited to see some basketball.
All right. All right. Yeah, I can't wait. It's been like Darius said, about 3 months. I think it's going to be great. At least on paper, the format sounds like it's going to be interesting. No Chicago Bulls, y'all, but hey, you can't be surprised. But I think it's going to be a great format. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, let me ask y'all. I'm gonna start with you, Jackie. I'm hearing some rumblings. I don't know how true this is because we still got, I guess, about a month and a half before this is supposed to kick in. But I'm hearing some rumblings. Some of the top players, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, guys like that. They're talking about maybe not playing. Have y'all heard that? And if so, what do you think about it?
I would kind of be disappointed if they didn't play, just seeing how far their teams have been playing. Like the Milwaukee Bucks, they've been doing amazing this year. So if Giannis didn't play or if he wasn't a part of it, I don't know if I would tune in so much to their games as I would if he were playing. So I would be disappointed, but like I said, I would just be excited to see basketball on TV again, honestly.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it seems like some of the concerns are mixed. It seems that some have health concerns, which I can absolutely see, and others are saying that they have some issues regarding what's going on in our country, particularly regarding the George Floyd situation, and they might be looking at this as some sort of protest or representation of what's going on in the country. Darius, what about you? What do you think about all of this?
Well, I mean, it may take us a little bit off of what's going on, but I believe that with those players speaking up during that time, they're gonna show when the season does come back. I believe that a lot of players are gonna show a lot of representation of what's going on in this world today. LeBron James being a main focal point of being a person to speak up. He's been speaking up a lot around this time. So I think it does bring back some normalcy hearing about the NBA coming back, but I still don't think it's taking off what's going on right now in this world.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we still got a month and a half and so much can happen in between now and then. Something tells me that once we're close to the season actually getting restarted, what have you, I got a feeling a lot, if not all of these players who are talking about possibly not playing, I have a feeling they're probably going to play. I hope so. But I do respect their concerns, whether it's due to the pandemic, whether it's the civil unrest that's going on in the country right now surrounding George Floyd. I respect either or both positions, but hopefully within the next 6 weeks or so, we'll see not only NBA basketball, but we'll see all of our NBA superstars back playing. Let me ask you all this. I'll start with you, Darius. Regarding the NBA, obviously eventually there's going to be a playoff and there's going to be a champion. Whoever wins the championship this year, will you look at them differently? Does this champion hold the same kind of meaning since this is kind of abbreviated season? What do you think about this, Darius?
So, I mean, I believe a lot as far as how the format is going to be. It's going to make us feel that way. I believe if we come back and they bring those teams that go back and make that 8th seed and do 8 versus 8 each division, it gives it back to the normalcy. I think we'll still give them the right to them winning this year's NBA championship, especially with the teams that they did bring back. Most of the teams that they brought back are all competitive teams. All these teams are still being able to fight for 8 seeds. So I'm glad to see who actually will be the 8 seed, and then once we get into the playoffs, I think we'll know more so if it'll be an asterisk by it or not. But it's all I believe as far as what the NBA sets up, the storylines.
Okay.
How the finals will go, how the playoffs will go. I know Michael Jordan spoke up to Adam Silver to tell him to don't have any gimmicks. So them keeping it the same, I think, helped a lot as well. But I am excited to see the different format as far as they only brought 9 in the East and 12 in the West. So that format alone and then having to play in, that's a little bit something different. I think the NBA was looking for something different in the first place. They were always trying to think about what they could do mid-season as far as next year. So having this little twist on this year is just, that could be different. Just saying that the pandemic year, you won a championship, but I don't think it'll be anything different.
Okay. Jackie, in closing?
Yeah, same for me. I think that since the season was abruptly ended the way that it did, it'll be kind of interesting to see the format and to see them fight for those AFCs to see if this would be something that they did for a mid-season tournament. But I just want to see competitive basketball. I know that since they've been out for some time, and I'm just curious to see, is it going to look like how the teams look in preseason, or will they still look like they're in that playoff form?
Okay. All right.
I'm
Sounds
ready to see their
good.
body types.
Yeah.
See who's been sitting on the couch and who's been actually
Right.
working out.
All right. Well, before we get to the main topic, and that's about the unrest that's going on in the country regarding the George Floyd situation, we just want to give a shout out to the late great Wes Unseld, who we lost last week. He was 79 years old, Hall of Famer. He was the 6'7" center for the Washington Bullets when they won their only NBA championship in 1978. I remember him as a little kid when the Bullets played in Baltimore. They were the Baltimore Bullets. They moved to Washington. At one point, they even became the Capitol Bullets, and then they were renamed the Washington Bullets again. But he was a great player. He was a great ambassador for the league. He was an executive for many years after his playing career. And we just want to give a shout out to the Wes Unseld family and the NBA family for this loss. God bless you, Wes. All right. Of course, we have to address the elephant in the room, and it's the unrest that's going on in our country still right now as a result of the tragic situation that happened to George Floyd. And we want to particularly talk about how it's affecting the sports world. We're going to start off, of course, with something that happened late last week regarding Drew Brees. Drew Brees spoke out. Initially, he was doing an interview, and he was asked about the possibility of, once the NFL starts back, about the players possibly kneeling. Drew Brees initially, he still had an issue with it. If you remember, he had an issue with it a few years ago when it had started. He felt that it was disrespecting the flag and disrespecting veterans, what have you. He has since changed his stance. He got a lot of pushback, a lot of blowback, mostly negative regarding this, but he seems to have had a change of heart, and he made an apology. It seemed like a heartfelt apology. Jackie, what do you think about Drew Brees and his initial comments and where he stands right now?
Yeah, I think he meant what he said when he made the statement the first time. The only reason he apologized is so many people approached him about it. For him to say that kneeling is disrespectful, Colin Kaepernick did it to show the injustice that black people face against police, and now you see so many people, they tired of the peaceful protests, and it's causing more and more people to be vocal about it. So I think that his apology, I don't necessarily see it as sincere. It was just something he did so that people wouldn't see him as a bad guy.
Okay, all right. Darius, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, I believe, like, right along with Jackie said, as far as him restating all the apologies, I think it was just something just for him to cover up as far as backtracking himself. He works with a lot of African-American athletes as far as his receivers, his running backs, his linemen. Every person, majority around him is an African-American he plays with. So the apology, I seen it coming. From the time he said the statement was released, and then I could see the apology coming. I think he has to do a little bit more. He has to show that
He can't just talk.
Yeah, he shows that he's incompetent as far as what's going on, and that he is learning, and that his teammates are teaching him as well. I think one of his receivers came out and actually, Michael Thomas, actually came out and said that that Drew Brees is his quarterback, and he has to teach him. He has to talk to him. I believe their running back as well, he came out and spoke with them as well, and said that he has to make Drew more aware. So I hope that he does become aware. I'm granted to see what happens in the season this year as far as the people that'll be actually, will he be targeted this year? Will it go beyond just him saying that statement?
Right.
So I'm granted to see that. Like I said, Drew Brees, he has to learn more. You can see the apology coming once again. I think Ernie from NBA Today or NBA Inside, he said it the best, don't use the flag as a blindfold. And that's exactly what Drew Brees did, use the flag as a blindfold to what's really going on.
All right.
Kaepernick touched on this years ago. And for him to say that statement just shows that there's a lot of progression that needs to be made.
Right.
So hopefully Drew Brees does learn what he said was not right. Like I said from the beginning, the apology was coming. He has to do more.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Darius, I didn't like the way after he made the statement, how Laura Ingraham tried he has the right to his opinion, but years ago she kept saying LeBron just needs to shut up and dribble.
Come on now, that's just somebody looking out for somebody.
Very good. Very good.
That's somebody looking out for somebody.
Look, let me start out by this. First of all, I was surprised Drew made his initial comments, especially after all the unrest that's going on right now. Okay, let me tell y'all this, and this has been my personal experience. There's only 3 people in life that's ever going to tell you the truth: a drunk, a kid, or somebody who's really angry. All right? Drew said what he said initially this second time because he was angry, and I believe that's how he felt, and that came from his heart. All right? Now, we all knew the apology was coming. It had to come because the blowback was too hard. Okay? He made it sound good. Okay, it sounded sincere, but I want to see your words match actions. All right? Now, he's been, he and his organization, foundation, his family, they've been very philanthropic in the past, particularly in the New Orleans area, what have you, so I'm not going to take that away from him. But at the same time, I just couldn't believe how tone deaf Drew was, especially in light of what's going on right now. Yeah. That being said, we'll see what happens. I mean, okay, he apologized. As a Christian, I'll accept the apology, but I just want to see moving forward what he does. And, we're going to be watching, Drew. Put it that way. We also got another apology from the NFL. This was from the commissioner, Roger Goodell himself. Roger Goodell issued an apology, and he's saying now that the NFL got it wrong and that Colin Kaepernick was right, even though he still don't have no job. So, Darius, what do you think about Roger Goodell's apology and what's going on with Colin Kaepernick to this day?
It seems that statement was much needed after the video that he had a lot of his top players released. There was a black BLM or Black Lives Matter video that was released by, I believe, a lot of the NFL players, a lot of the high-profile NFL players. MVP Patrick Mahomes was in it. You got an upcoming player like Saquon Barkley, who
I saw that video.
Top number 1 and number 2 in jersey sales last year. So you have your top athletes coming out in this video. He had to say something.
Okay.
The apology was well overdue. The George Floyd, unfortunately, with that incident happening, that's when the apology came out, because now we see that what Colin Kaepernick was standing for is something that's still going on today.
Absolutely.
And he still hasn't had a job in 3 years.
No, he paid a heavy price.
With
Jackie,
that
what
being
about
said, I believe that the NFL does need to address an apology, especially to him. As far as him finding a job, we'll see how that goes. I don't know if he's still even able to play football now. He said he's been working out for 3 years, but we'll see.
Okay. Jackie, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with what Darius said. I think that with this pandemic going on, and then for George Floyd to get killed in the midst of it, it just made all eyes focus on the issues that have been going on in the world. So I think for Roger Goodell to send out this has been a much overdue apology, like Darius said. I'm just curious to see some real change take place. I know you can say you're sorry, but what is going to take place? What are you going to change? What actions are you going to take to make sure that the players feel protected, the players feel that they're not just a part of the brand, a part of the face that you want to use, but that they actually have a voice?
Okay, all right. Well, if we're gonna talk about the bad, we got to talk about the good too. And I want to give a couple of shout outs. One to Greg Popovich, head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Anybody that knows Pop has followed his career. Pop has no problem popping off about what's going on in the world, what's happening in the country, politically, socially, otherwise. And, you know, he, along with Steve Kerr, I want to give shout outs to my man Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, ex-Chicago Bull. These two prominent coaches have gone out of their way to speak out against all the social unrest that's been going. And this was, in the case of these two, this has been happening before George Floyd. George Floyd probably has shown the biggest light to particularly what Colin Kaepernick was trying to educate many people around the country, many people in the NFL on it, with the civil unrest, with the police brutality that is still suffered by the African American community as it relates to some police officers. So just want to give a shout out to Pop, Steve Kerr, and we want to, then for every Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr, you have a James Dolan, who is still tone deaf and just doesn't get it. You have a Jake Fromm, who made the statement late last week that only elite white people should be allowed to purchase guns. You have Grant Napier, former announcer of the Sacramento Kings, who was fired because he decided he wanted to tweet that all lives matter. Jackie, what do you think about the dichotomy that, that some of these coaches or some of these players get it and others don't? What does that tell you?
It says that racism has been alive, and it's just an insensitivity thing. And then people say all lives matter to take away from Black Lives Matter, but nobody ever said Black Lives Matter more. We just want to be treated equally.
Amen.
So for all of these people to just make these statements, it just comes out of insensitivity and ignorance, because they're not trying to understand. And it's crazy because they play sports with people that are Black, and you have to get to know your teammates, not just from a player standpoint, but you got to get to know them personally, and I think that the dynamic would be way better.
Very well said. What about you, Darius?
I just believe that the deaf tone or the ignorance of Grant Napier and as well as a James Dolan, it shows that in that realm of people of what we have as far as progression, or what they may have seen the African American community as far as what level of people that we are to them. I think that the nation right now is in a place of revolution. A lot of things are going to be changing. To seeing the big businesses and big companies and people donating money towards change, I think that's the first thing that needs to happen, and that's going to show happening. That's been happening. But these people, they do need to be outed out. Like a James Dolan, like a Grant Napier, he shouldn't have his job anymore.
Right.
Anyone that does take all lives matter, and anybody that takes that statement and use it as more than, we're saying that Black lives are more than better than anybody else's lives, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying we want to be equal, as Jackie said. Taking the statement of all lives matter, that's just showing the ignorance of thinking that we believe that Black lives matter, and that's not it at all. So just the ignorance of those people, hopefully they will come out it and they will be losing their jobs like a Grant Napier.
I'm going to keep it 100. I'm tired of explaining. I'm tired of educating. I'm tired of putting asterisks on, well, we're saying this and we're doing this because y'all know what we say when we're saying Black Lives Matter. You know why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling. If you didn't at the time, you definitely know now. So look, people are going to be people. There's good and bad in life. That's just the way it is. It's as simple as this. We, as African Americans, want to be treated fairly and equally like everybody else. It's that simple, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, just socially, particularly when we have encounters with law enforcement, we just want to be treated fairly. That's all we're asking. And if you don't get that, you just don't get it. All right? And a lot of you racists out there that they're feeling emboldened, you're going to keep losing your jobs. And you're going to keep being social pariahs by continuing this ignorance. So it's up to you. But I'm through explaining. It is what it is. We also have some college scholarships that have been rescinded, and I see my man Jason Dawson has taken the mic, so I'm going to go to you, Jason. We have several top high school athletes that had their full scholarships rescinded because they decided they wanted to, tell the world that, they were ignorant and stupid. Particularly this one athlete from Marquette University, she put out something basically saying that, come at me, if Colin Kaepernick can take a knee, then the police can put their knee on somebody's neck. Now that's really going out there. Jason, what do you think about these scholarships being rescinded from some of these athletes who just don't get it? I say hooray.
Hey, I'm with you, big bro. Chancellors, ADs, thank you for doing your job.
Amen.
Let them know it needs to be a penalty behind your words. Do not be so ignorant and insensitive that you just think you can say whatever and still have your blue chip scholarship. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No. So I think her name is Leah Rinnick. And just being so ignorant, now you see there are consequences, Leah.
Yeah.
Now you see you cannot be this way in America because guess what? Besides popular belief, we're not African Americans. We are Americans, period. If you go anywhere outside of the United States, we will be called American. They'll scratch off African if you write it down because we're not. We were born here, we tilled the land, and we're here to stay. So look, face facts and understand your consequences will be met now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't. Oh, what about free speech? Hey, you free to say what you want. There's just consequences behind what you say.
You're free to,
You're free to say it.
Yeah.
Just know, depending on what you say, you gonna get an invoice in the mail. Just keep that in mind. Darius, what about you?
Every racist should be outed. So I mean,
Period. They outing themselves.
It's a movement. It's a movement. Like I said, it's a revolution that's going on now. Anybody that has said a racist statement, anybody that's come out and seen some type of racist or something that's against another kind of just because of somebody's color of the skin, I see that people are going to be losing their jobs or losing their scholarships.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
In that right, they should be.
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
world, I believe, they're starting to see, especially in America, they're starting to see that racism, it goes further than just saying, that's a black person. It's further than what we see every day. It's within the system. So I believe that we will be seeing a change, and anybody that does lose a scholarship or lose a job over it, I don't feel bad for them at all.
Me neither.
What I also love that I'm seeing, we have a top high school recruit, and I think his name is Mikey Williams.
Yes, sir.
Jay, you could probably speak on this better than me. He's a basketball recruit, correct?
Yes. Sure
And originally, he's being recruited by all the top schools that you would think he would be recruited by, the Dukes and the UCLAs of the world. But he's now looking at an HBCU college to attend. Jason, why don't you speak on that a little bit before we close out?
Okay, yes, Mikey Williams, he's the top prospect in the class of 2023, I believe.
Okay.
And now with all the social unrest, and the best thing about the pandemic right now is the fact that we can't be focused on sports. Our attention can't be diverted. And he's trying to let everybody know, you know what? Now you guys see what we've been talking about. I want to keep the black dollar. Whatever I generate from my name, I want to keep that money in the black community. So he's thinking about doing away with all the blue bloods. And he said himself, I'm going to have all the top HBCUs on my recruiting list, and not just for show, because I'm thinking about going there for real. He said, I'm going to start affecting change, and it starts with me. So he said it best. If you're a pro regardless. They're going to find you. They're going to know that
Sure
they're
will.
going to know your name. They're going to have the ESPN there to watch your games. It doesn't matter. So he's going to set the world on fire by making this HBCU thing a real thing for us black Africans.
All right. It starts with one. Darius, what do you think before we close out?
Same thing. If like Jason said, it starts with one. If he changes, then they'll follow. I believe that Isaiah Thomas even tweeted that out to him. If he changes this script,
Yes.
It'll be for the better. And hopefully, not only just basketball, hopefully for football as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I believe that we have a lot within our power that we don't sometimes use.
Right.
I think Mikey has a lot by saying that, and he can use his power to change that narrative.
Yes.
Okay, all right, all right. All right, Kroc Nation, before we close out, we're gonna give you next week's poll question, which is, we're talking about, should more athletes speak out on social issues? That's gonna be the question for next week, so you got a week to get your votes in, tell us what you think. And just in closing, we just wanna say, look, it's very simple. For those of you out there like us who love Christ, the Bible says that Christ loves everyone. So if you truly love Christ, how can you hate people based on the color of their skin?
Amen.
Or their religion, or where they come from? I mean, if you call yourself a true Christian, there's some requirements here. So keep that in mind, when you're making your little statements and whatnot. Are you really following Christ, or are you really following you?
Yes.
All right, Kroc Nation, we want to thank you all once again for taking time out of your busy lives to share half an hour with us. We want to thank you as always. We hope you all are still being smart, being safe. The pandemic hasn't gone away, y'all, so let's just keep that in mind. Let's make the right decisions and the right choices. And please remember, as always, we can do all things through Christ that loves us. I want to thank you all again. I want to thank our hosts, Jason Dawson, Jackie Foster. I want to thank Darius Jackson. I want to thank the production crew. And until next week, same bad time, same bad channel. Y'all stay cool, Kroc Nation. We'll talk at you. Peace.